We've had another price cap announcement from the energy regulator, Ofgem, this morning. And on the face of it, it sounds good. Energy price cap has now fallen below £2,000 for the first time since the energy crisis started last year. And it's going to cost households, on average, around £1,923. On the downside, what we've seen is that the energy support scheme for vulnerable households has been removed by the government, which was a £400 top-up. So actually it works out that around 7 million households are still going to be paying more than they were last year. Unfortunately, we've already had a heads up from a lot of analysts that the bills will actually shoot back up above £2,000 come January. And it really does depend on how this winter goes. So we're not really in control of our energy market in the UK because we import so much of our energy because we haven't got enough self-sustainability. And that really depends on what's going on in China, and we have no idea of kind of how that will bear out in terms of if their economy starts roaring back into life, then there'll be a greater demand of energy and there'll be less energy around to import into the UK. Plus it depends on what's going on in Europe. And the weather, and nobody can control the weather. So if it's going to be a very cold winter in Europe at the start of winter, then all the energy storage, but at the moment we're in quite a good shape because there's a lot of energy being stored in Germany. But if those resources get sucked up very quickly, then it means that we'll be having to pay a lot more as a country a lot quicker, and that will start feeding into our energy bills. By households, I think that we're going to be kind of having a lot more analysis of like people looking through their budgets. Can they make it through this winter? And we know that actually a lot of households have already been going to kind of things like Citizens Advice Bureau and other debt charities saying, I'm really worried about this winter. And we were hearing about some really dire cases last year of people saying, well, do I afford to put on my heating or do I afford to get the food? And I think that actually because the climate is so vulnerable and so volatile, today's news isn't as great as I think that Ofgem and some politicians are wanting it to be, because actually bills are still about £1,000 more expensive than they were when we all went into this. I think the cost of living crisis is exactly kind of what it is. It's the basic essentials that have all got a lot more expensive. So while last year we were all absolutely obsessed about the cost of energy and worried about bills reaching potentially as high as £4,000, since then we've all seen everything get a lot more expensive. From food prices, about 19% at one stage, the cost of our groceries were getting much more expensive. And the basics, bread, pasta, milk, eggs, all of the things that are in everybody's weekly shopping basket costing a lot more. Then we've seen petrol prices and diesel prices get a lot more expensive, and mortgage costs, which are also impacting the rental market. So even if you don't own your home, you're having the kind of falling down effect from landlords passing on the buck. So everything has got a lot more expensive, which means that there's a lot less in people's wallets to afford more expensive energy bills as well.